Johnny Carson's name once meant laughter, charm, and effortless control. But behind the curtain, his story was far more complicated, one of pain, obsession, and the pursuit of love he could never quite find. When the Smithsonian received a sealed collection from Carson's estate in 2005, no one knew what it contained. For 20 years it sat untouched until curators finally opened it. Inside were personal tapes Carson recorded in his final years, confessions, regrets, and reflections he never meant anyone to hear. Among them were clues about the betrayals and heartbreaks that haunted him, shedding light on a man who changed television forever, but could never escape his own loneliness. Johnny Carson was born on October 23, 1925, in Corning, Iowa, a small town most people had never heard of. His father, Homer Kit Carson, worked for the Iowa-Nebraska Light and Power Company, which meant the family moved constantly through towns like Clarinda and Red Oak before finally settling in Norfolk, Nebraska, when Johnny was 8. It was 1933, the heart of the Great Depression, and money was scarce. His father's salary had been cut by nearly 40%. Families were losing farms, selling furniture just to afford bread. The Carson home was modest, but what Johnny remembered most wasn't its size. It was the silence that hung over the dinner table when there wasn't enough to go around. His mother, Ruth, was distant and cold, an aspiring actress who saved her warmth for the stage, not her children. She criticized Johnny endlessly and favored his older siblings, Catherine and Dick. Johnny later called her Lady Macbeth, and said she was the hardest woman he had ever known. Even when he became rich and famous, sending her on a European tour or gifting her a mink coat, she dismissed his gestures. When she died, Carson didn't mourn. On television he quipped, "The Wicked Witch is dead," a joke that hid a lifetime of bitterness. He blamed her for his failed marriages and his inability to love fully. As a child, Carson was quiet and overlooked until he discovered magic at age 8. Finding a dusty magic book at a friend's house, he became obsessed. He saved every coin he could to buy a magic kit, and when it arrived it gave him something he'd never had before: control. Performing tricks gave him a way to command attention, to turn silence into applause. By 10 he was performing at birthday parties. At 14, he performed for the Norfolk Rotary Club, and when a levitation trick failed, he turned the disaster into a joke that earned a standing ovation. That night taught him the secret that would define his career. If you can make people laugh when everything goes wrong, they'll forgive anything. At home though, the laughter stopped. Johnny worked early, delivering newspapers and doing chores to help his family survive. That Depression-era fear of losing everything stayed with him forever. Even in the 1980s, when he was making $5 million a year, he was known for being frugal, rarely picking up dinner checks. Friends called it stinginess. Psychologists called it trauma. Carson just said nothing. In high school, he was known for his pranks. Teachers' bikes ended up on flagpoles, animals appeared in classrooms, and rotten egg bombs cleared the halls. These weren't just stunts. They were rehearsals for live television, moments of chaos that he turned into comedy. After graduating in 1943, he joined the Navy, serving as a communications officer aboard the USS Pennsylvania. He never saw combat but entertained his fellow sailors with magic and jokes. When Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal saw his act, he encouraged Carson to pursue entertainment, a moment that would shape his future. After the war, Carson attended the University of Nebraska, studying radio and speech. His senior thesis, How to Write Comedy for Radio, dissected timing and delivery with the precision of a scientist. After graduation in 1949, he began working at WOW Radio in Omaha for $50 a week, hosting shows, reading news, and performing skits that mixed wit with absurdity. His humor caught Hollywood's attention, and soon he was writing for The Red Skelton Show. By the mid-1950s, Carson had his own low-budget variety show on CBS, The Johnny Carson Show, but it flopped after 39 weeks. Yet even in failure, he displayed a rare gift for improvisation. When a piano collapsed mid-scene, he turned the mishap into comedy gold. In 1957, he moved to Los Angeles to host Who Do You Trust?, a game show that let him interact directly with contestants. His warmth and wit made the show a hit and brought him to NBC's attention. In 1962, after Jack Paar left The Tonight Show, Carson was asked to take over. He hesitated, but when he did, he transformed late-night television forever. He insisted on writing his own monologues, giving him freedom to poke fun at presidents, politics, and pop culture with intelligence and charm. His debut on October 1, 1962 was chaotic. The orchestra failed, the set malfunctioned, but Carson laughed through it, and so did America. Over the next 3 decades, Carson became the nation's nightly companion. His recurring characters like Karnak the Magnificent and Art Fern became cultural touchstones. His interviews, from movie stars to presidents, blended humor with empathy. But off-camera, the man behind the desk was far from the one viewers adored. He could be moody, controlling, and withdrawn. His relationships crumbled one after another. He drank heavily, often before going on air, and his temper frightened even his closest colleagues. Carson's feuds were legendary. His jokes about singer Wayne Newton escalated into a near-physical confrontation. His resentment toward NBC for favoring Jay Leno over David Letterman festered for years. Behind every laugh was a streak of vengeance and pride. Yet, in moments of tragedy, his humanity showed. When his son Rick died in a car accident in 1991, Carson broke down on air, unable to speak. For once, the mask fell away, revealing a man shattered by loss. Despite fame and fortune, Carson's personal life remained troubled. His 4th marriage to Alexis Moss began with tension and threats. Friends described him as loving one minute and cold the next. His perfectionism and insecurity never left. Even as he cut his workweek to 4 nights by the late 1980s, exhaustion and illness caught up to him. Years of chain smoking left him battling emphysema, but he rarely complained. When Carson retired in 1992 after 30 years and more than 4,500 episodes, it felt like America was saying goodbye to an era. 50 million people watched his final show. "I bid you a very heartfelt good night," he said softly before walking off stage. Backstage he wept. It was the first and only time he truly lost his composure in public. After that, he lived quietly in Malibu, writing jokes for fun, sending the best ones to David Letterman, and avoiding the spotlight he once owned. He never forgave NBC for choosing Leno, calling him a thief in private letters. Still, he found some peace in his foundation, which gave millions to hospitals and schools. When he died in January 2005 at age 79, his will stunned the world. His sons received nothing. Everything, $156 million in total, went to charity. It was as if he wanted his legacy to serve others rather than the family that had brought him so much pain. Now, 2 decades after his death, the legend of Johnny Carson continues to evolve. Hidden tapes and unseen recordings are being released, revealing